Good morning. My name is Chris Fox, and this morning we are talking about the power of obsession. This is something that kind of has a bad rap in our society, and I'm going to give you the definition. A persistent, disturbing preoccupation with an often unreasonable idea or feeling. So, when I was growing up, I was that kid who always had their nose buried in a book. Everywhere we went, I always had at least one fantasy novel with me. And as often as possible, I'd whip that out and I'd read a few pages. It was pretty much what I did with my time until about the age of 7 or 8 when I discovered a game called Dungeons and Dragons. I love the concept of storytelling like this. I loved the ability for me to play these characters and eventually to run these stories for my friends. It was something I was really into obsessively. And my parents panicked. They saw how much time and energy I poured into this creative activity. And at that time, this is in the early 80s when a movie called Mazes and Monsters had just come out starring Tom Hanks. And basically what it said is that if you played these games, it was going to drive you crazy. So my parents banned me from playing Dungeons and Dragons, and of course, being who I am, I didn't stop. We simply kept it under the radar and started, playing under their nose. They didn't really know what was going on. And throughout my childhood, I battled my parents about the amount of time that I spent reading and about the amount of time that I spent playing these games. And they were very clear that they didn't believe that I was going to amount to anything, that I couldn't make it in the real world if all I ever did was spent time focusing on these things. And I think what they didn't realize is the power that an obsession can have. This is what I love doing. I love storytelling. I would rather do this than pretty much anything else in the world. It's what I choose to do with my free time. So, throughout my entire adult life, when I'd finish working whatever day job that I had and I would come home, what I do to unwind is either watch somebody else's story in the form of TV or movie or read a book, or I concoct my own. That's what I do. I am obsessed. And for a big chunk of my childhood and then into adulthood, I played a game called World of Warcraft, and I played it obsessively. I mean, we're talking 20 to 30 hours a week. I tend to do everything obsessively. And again, in our society, that's considered a bad thing. But what I want to get across in today's video is that there is value in this, in your magnificent obsession, in the thing that you focus all of your energy on. That's really what allows you to push past all of these obstacles that are going to crop up in your way, and they will, and they will. But no one in your daily life is going to want to see you be obsessed. At first, people just think you're a little weird, and they may not say anything, or maybe they will if they're your friends and family. And then as your obsession begins to grow into a career and you start cranking out novels and doing amazing things, those same people are going to wrestle with your sudden success. So I guess my point, the takeaway is this. Don't be afraid to march to the beat of a different drum. Don't worry what anyone else in your life thinks. Don't worry where you're at in your journey right now. Give into that obsession. Continue to pour all of your heart and creative energy into this thing that you love. And don't apologize to anybody for it. What you were doing, it's your passion. And almost everybody in this life is not going to get a chance to live their passion. They're going to work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. until they're old enough to retire in their late 60s or early 70s. And at the end of their life, they're going to look back at this career and it's going to mean nothing to them. Whereas if you stick with your obsession, if you keep pushing and trying and learning and growing and experimenting, if you don't care what anybody else thinks, when you get to that same age, you're going to be able to look back at a life well lived. A life where you were able to create and do and be exactly who you wanted to be. And that is the power of obsession.